Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the late start. I honestly got carried away in a message I was sending, and the time ran away with me. Apologies to those online as well. The meeting of the annual general meeting for 2026 of Spur Spices Jamaica Limited is now called to order. Can I ask someone in the audience to say a prayer for us and to grace us with that? Anyone? Thank you. Amen. Thank you very much. And what's your name, ma'am? Lorana Cheta. Okay. Can everyone online hear me? You can just indicate if they are indicating that they're hearing. Okay, great. Thanks very much. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the shareholders, to the proxies, if there are any guests at the location or online via electronic devices. Let me start by introducing our board of directors and our management team. I am Mitri Siago. I'm the non-executive chairman. We have Mr. Albert Bailey, our CEO. We have Mr. Jagnaran, who should be at the head table and is not. Rani Badalu, who is our general manager, incoming general manager. She. Mr. Anand James, these are now the non-executive members. Anand James, Mr. James. Ms. Yana Samuels, Mr. Stephen Ricketts, Ms. Danielle Terrelong, and I do not see Mr. Kareem Tomlinson yet. Our mentor, Tanya Waldron. I don't see Tanya either. I'd like to also welcome this morning Cube, our corporate secretary support limited. We have in our management team, Savion Burke, chief accountant. Is Savion here? You have any of the management staff here, so I don't call out all their names? Venetia Thomas, manager special projects. I'd also like to welcome our auditors this morning, who are represented here by Emile Lafayette, partner at Baker Tilly, our attorney at law, Simone Bowie Jones, partner Myers Fletcher and Gordon. Welcome, Simone. Our registrar and transfer agents at Jamaica Central Securities Deposit, Sasheta Manning. Sashita. I never want to curse on bad words. So. And Kareem Patterson. Our principal stockbrokers and financial agents, GK Capital Management. I don't know if GK has a representative here yet. And co-brokers, Sagicor Investments, Jamaica Limited. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. Can our corporate secretary advise if we have a quorum, sir? There is a quorum. Please let the record state that there is a quorum. The quorum for a valid annual general meeting by Article 77 is 3 members, and we clearly have more than 3 members here. Are there any apologies for absence? Do we have a list of apologies? No apologies for absence. Do we have any proxies? No proxies received. Okay. The notice convening the meeting has been circulated to shareholders, and that being the case, ladies and gentlemen, with your permission, I will take the notice of the meeting as read. I shall now read the chairman's report on pages 22 and 23 of the annual report for the financial year 2025. The year 2025 represented a complex operating environment for the company and its subsidiaries, shaped by agricultural supply disruptions, evolving trade conditions, and softer demand across certain markets. Despite these challenges, the company delivered a strong financial performance, reflecting the resilience of its business model, the benefits of strategic investments made in recent years, and disciplined execution across the organization. And I'm just going to pause from the report here to say that I think it's very commendable to the management and staff under the conditions of having a hurricane and having the disruption that we have. To be able to post a profit this year was really a huge achievement. For the year ending December 31st, 2025, the company recorded robust financial results. Revenue increased by 14.57% to $1.79 billion. B, Mr. Jagnaran. Compared to $1.56 billion in 2024. Gross profit rose to $530 million from $474 million. While administrative expenses remained well controlled despite significant inflationary pressures, net profit increased by 19.63% to $116 million. Total assets grew to $1.84 billion, up from $1.69 billion in the prior year, and shareholders' equity increased from $1.02 billion to $1.13 billion. The year began against a backdrop of continued constraints in agriculture supply, including the lingering effects of Hurricane Beryl and Aki availability. Inflationary pressures and evolving tariff conditions in key export markets created additional headwinds. During the latter part of the year, Hurricane Melissa significantly disrupted agricultural production, reversing most of the recovery that had begun and intensifying supply chain challenges across the sector. Notwithstanding these external pressures, the company's core manufacturing portfolio continued to demonstrate strength and stability. The sauces and seasonings segment maintained steady momentum, supported by strong demand and continued expansion across export markets. These categories remain central to the company's long-term growth strategy and provide a strong foundation for overall performance. The third quarter represented a particularly strong period for the company and its subsidiaries. Improved agricultural supply conditions enabled increased production activity, whilst expansion of the product portfolio and strengthening of distribution channels contributed to record revenue and profitability during the quarter. This performance highlighted the company's earnings capacity when favorable supply conditions aligned with robust market demand. However, the fourth quarter was significantly impacted by Hurricane Melissa, which caused widespread disruption across Jamaica's agricultural sector. Ackee and callaloo production were particularly affected, with key sourcing areas experiencing near total crop loss and interruptions to harvesting activities. Additionally, supply disruptions and widespread damage across the island drove significant cost increases. Despite these challenges, the company's prior investments in farming operations, raw material planning, and inventory management enabled it to maintain production continuity and meet customer demand during this difficult period. The company's continued investment in farming and supply chain optimization has proven strategically important. These initiatives enhance the availability of key raw materials used across the manufacturing portfolio, while strengthening quality control and procurement efficiencies. The events of the past 2 years have reinforced the importance of building a resilient and integrated supply chain. Despite ongoing tariff related dynamics and inflationary pressures, which contributed to softer consumer demand in some channels, performance in export markets remained resilient. This was supported by the strength of the company's core product portfolio and continued expansion across distribution markets. In the domestic market, performance remained generally stable. However, activity during the final 2 months of the year was impacted by a slowdown in tourism, which directly affected the food service channel. The food service accounts for approximately 30% of local market sales, and reduced visitor arrivals in November and December moderated demand across several product categories. Looking ahead, the board remains focused on supporting management in executing the company's strategic priorities. These include expanding overseas distribution, deepening domestic market penetration, and advancing product innovation, increasing production capacity, and continuing investment in farming and supply chain optimization. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I extend sincere appreciation to our shareholders, management team, employees, distributors, and partners for their continued support and commitment. Thank you all very much. And without further ado, I'm going to ask our CEO, Mr. Bailey, to come and give his presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Chairman, fellow board members, our company secretary, our auditors, our lawyers, and our shareholders, well-wishers, and everybody. Very good morning to you. Thank you for that. Mr. Chairman sounds like he's up. Not certain about everybody else, but I could, in my presentation, go through our MD&A, but I just want to emphasize certain specific things, and therefore I'm going to direct your attention to the screen as I go through what I consider to be some of the salient points as we look back at 2025 and get a glimpse of 2026 and the future for Spur Tree Spices. Some of this information would have come out in our chairman's presentation, but I wanted to highlight that. What did we achieve in 2025? Revenue of 1.79 billion, almost 1.8 billion, I think is very commendable under the circumstances, up by 14.6%. And don't be afraid to clap if you feel like. Gross profit up by 11.7% to $530 million. Again, very commendable. Our net profit was up by almost 20% to $116.5 million. Our total asset grew by 9% and our total equity by 11.4%. So these are some of the highlights of the achievements that we had. The next slide, please. I want you to understand the background or the backdrop against which this was achieved. Because from 2023, we are operating in the agro-processing sector, as everybody will know. We are agro-processing company. And therefore, there's exposure to some environmental conditions, things that we don't have control over. And when we build this company, we have to build it in a resilient manner to deal with these challenges. But I want to highlight some of the challenges that we have had. 2023 was a severe year of drought. Then in 2024, we had Hurricane Beryl, and I think that was in June, one of the earliest hurricanes on record in Jamaica. And then in 2025, when we thought we had escaped, then, and everybody at the end of October, I don't think we have had this kind of, this has now become the latest, but the most impactful. And the, what is the correct terminology? The strongest hurricane on record. Yes, thank you for that, board member. Right. So this is the backdrop against what we're doing. 3 consecutive years of tremendous environmental challenges. Next slide, please. And this had tremendous impact on our business from an economic and market standpoint. There were tremendous supply chain pressures. As you understand, most of our raw materials comes from agriculture. And when agriculture is significantly interrupted by the events that I alluded to earlier, what you're going to have is primarily 2 things. One is a significant shortage of raw material. And that shortage leads to significant movement in prices. You know everything in Jamaica. When something becomes short, it becomes expensive. Demand, a classic case of demand and supply. So you had significant inflationary pressures, but also in 2025 was the year when we saw tariffs. The company is about 90% export, right? So it's an export-driven business. So once you begin to have these conditions, especially in your main market, 70% of our business comes from the US. It creates a lot of uncertainty in that environment. And to the extent that us as a business had to offer discount to one of our largest customers to offset tariffs. So not only were we dealing with the inflationary pressures on the supply side, but we're dealing with the challenges, other challenges on the market side, right? And because of that also, the market had what we call kind of soft demand, right? The certainty around demand was not there. So these are some of the challenges. So when we look at what we did and what we achieved, we have to understand the context of the environment in which we were operating. Next slide, please. So what did we do? Either we're going to get up, pull up our sleeves, and fight as hard as possible. Or we're just going to say, boy, these are conditions, we have no control over them. But you know that the farmer is what we do. We fight, and we fight back hard. So we invest, as you understand, in farming. Now, my business partner is at the farm every day, right? So he gets up very early. He's a very early man, you know. I can't sleep late, I don't know why. But he's at the farm very early. So we have a farm over at Bernard Lodge. It's over 200 acres, but you know, most times we have like about 80 to 90 acres under cultivation. And that is an important supplier to the business, and that has helped us tremendously, because one of the things that we have decided is that we are going to produce and store for eventuality like a hurricane or a drought like that. So we went into backward integration on the supply side for the business, and we invested heavily in this. Now, you understand also the vulnerabilities as far as this is concerned, because hurricane impact that. Last year, we were impacted by by the hurricane. Um, but the fact of the matter, it helped us more than it negatively impacted us. So we integrated that into the business from the supply side. We also look seriously because we're in an environment where you had to fight, as I said before. We look seriously at how can we grow efficiencies in our business. One of the things that I want everybody to understand is that I think we are used in Jamaica, and I think a lot of businesses practice this. You get a price increase, you pass it on to customer. That's typically how things run in Jamaica. For an export-oriented company, it doesn't work that way. Our main market is the US, as I said, 70%. We are 90% export. They are not used to 5% increase, right? I have suppliers sending 20, 30% increase, right? Some things have doubled because of, in terms of price, because of the shortage. We cannot pass on even a 5% at times. And so this pushes us to find efficiencies in our business. So we have been working assiduously to re-engineer the business to find efficiencies to offset some of these challenges on the supply side. And the other thing that we have done is to improve our productivity in terms of our raw material utilization and conversion ratio. We have had to grow our productivity and output in our business. So that is how we have been fighting to offset the challenges on the supply side and the disruption from the environmental and economic side. Next slide, please. But we also understood that growing efficiency and growing productivity alone doesn't solve your problem. Even though the market is soft, you also have to see how you can capitalize on opportunities that are in the market to grow revenue. And as you saw from the first slide, we also grew revenue to almost $1.8 billion. So we set out to diversify our market, our product portfolio. Why is this important? This is important for two reasons. One is obviously to grow revenue, right? Because we believe that the company has a lot of potential in terms of its revenue growth opportunities. But the second point there, that from a strategic standpoint we have pursued, is to diversify to minimize the impact of events like the ones that we have seen from 2023. So we had to look at the business on a whole and look at the vulnerabilities to these events because climate change is real, right? We can't sit and hide ourselves from those realities anymore. And so what we have done is to diversify our revenue portfolio also in terms of trying to find a better balance with things between the vulnerable area of our business and creating areas that are not as vulnerable. So if you notice then, we'd have also gone into a lot of the dry product side of the business. And so we are trying to grow that. We have introduced a lot of products around that. You would have seen our festival mix, our fried chicken mix, and I hope everybody has tried these. They're wonderful products. And then we have launched an entire suite of dry spices, which is growing and doing well. And we will continue to diversify in that manner. We also expanded our distribution reach, right? There are opportunities there in terms of areas in the existing market that we had not reached. And so we have worked assiduously to deepen the geographic reach and the product placement across existing market. We have also looked at, can we become a supplier to other persons who are in this space, who can benefit from our expertise and the products that we have developed. And so we have engaged other persons in terms of supplying white labels product to them. So persons, that's something that we are now promoting. So businesses that want the product that we offer, we have um, reached agreement with some companies, and we are doing that. So that's another area that we have increased our focus on. The next area there is uh, e-commerce. We have been doing a lot of work in e-commerce. If you go on Amazon, you'll see a very strong Spur presence, and that is also being pursued in Walmart along with other traditional channels. So we have worked assiduously on both the cost and efficiency side, and we have worked also on the revenue growth. And then on the local market, sometimes I think, well, let me put it like this. So Spur was started primarily for export, and that is what we have focused on. And we have had success by pursuing this strategy. We have a presence locally. I mean, I think you can find our products in nearly all major supermarkets across Jamaica. But I don't know what percentage of Jamaica shops shop in the traditional space. Probably about 40, or probably not as much. So there's a big part of the population that you're not reaching if you only focus on the traditional space. And so that's a part of our focus there, is to now look at the local market. There are a lot of mouths to feed in Jamaica also. And so we have to look at the local market and try and grow our presence in the local market, both in the traditional and the non-traditional space. And as was pointed out in the chairman's report, one of the factors that impacted us from a revenue standpoint was the hurricane and the impact on the food service sector. So as that food service sector is revived, that's a major area that we'll be focusing on, because if there's one thing we know, and by our experience in the States and other places, is that we have good options for the food service sector. So those are going to be some areas that we are focusing on in 2026. Next slide, please. Okay, expected outcome in 2026. It is our best quarter on record, and we are poised for a very good fourth quarter, and then came the hurricane. We have diversified the business. We are in the process of doing that, of continuing that process. And we believe that once the environmental conditions are stable, you're going to see tremendous growth in this business. We think that the foundation is has been laid, and that we will create shareholder value, significant shareholder value as we move ahead. 2026 promises to be good, but we are also excited about 2027 and beyond. This company has a great future ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. And I just want to say, for the record, that it is in no short, and by the way, welcome, Kareem. It is in no short measure that the success of the company is related to the work that you have done. And I think all of us, and I know the first one to clap will be Mr. Jagner, right? To you, Mr. Bailey. I feel quite confident standing here as chairman with you at the reins of the company and the day-to-day activities, that the company will continue to grow from strength to strength. Yes, sir. Karim, don't bother give him the mic. He might stay longer. Yeah. No, it's a very good point. Yeah. Point taken. And we know your passion, Mohan, and yeah. Yeah, and I don't want anybody to think that it is without the passion that you display on a day to day basis that helps all of us to continue on the road. So thank you too. I will now invite Mr. Emile Lafayette from Baker Tilly to read the 2025 Consolidated Independent Auditors Report.
Mr. Chairman, other board members, shareholders, management team, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So the independent auditors report to the members of Spur Spices Jamaica Limited. Report on the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our opinion. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements and the standalone financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated financial position of Spur Spices Jamaica Limited, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, and the standalone financial position of the company as at the 31st December 2025, and of their consolidated and standalone financial performance and their consolidated and standalone cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and comply with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act. What we have audited. Spur Spices Jamaica Limited's consolidated and standalone financial statements comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at the 31st December 2025, the consolidated statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of change in equity for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of cash flow for the year then ended, the company's statement of financial position as at the 31st December 2025, the company's statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the company's statement of change in equity for the year then ended, the company's statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, which include a summary of material accounting policies. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards and auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statement section of our report. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Independence. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, the ISBA Code. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISBA Code. Our audit approach, audit scope. As part of designing our audit, we determine materiality and assess the risk of material misstatement in the consolidated and standalone financial statements. In particular, we considered where management made subjective judgments. For example, in respect of significant accounting estimates that involve making assumptions and considering future events that are inherently uncertain. As in all of our audits, we also address the risks of management override of internal controls, including, among other matters, consideration of whether there was evidence of bias that represented a risk of material misstatements due to fraud. How we tailored our group audit scope. We tailored the scope of our audit in order to perform sufficient work to enable us to provide an opinion on the consolidated financial statement as a whole, taking into account the structure of the group, the accounting processes and controls, and the industry in which the group operates. Our 2025 audit was planned and executed having regard to the fact that the operations of the group remain largely unchanged from the prior year. The group's businesses are organized into two primary segments, being canned products and spices and other operations. The entities that comprise the group maintain their own accounting records. In establishing the overall group audit strategy and plan, we determined the type of work that was needed to be performed at the component by the group engagement team and the component auditors. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. Accounting for Business Combination Intangible Assets Group. Refer to Note 2H and 12 to the consolidated and standalone financial statements for disclosure of related accounting policies and balances. The total carrying value of goodwill as at the 31st December 2025 is 196 million, and the same amount for 2024, 196 million, representing 10.6% and 11.6% of the group's total assets. In accordance with ISA 36, impairment of assets, management performed an annual impairment assessment to determine whether the carrying value exceeded the recoverable amount of the cash generating unit, CGU, to which the goodwill is allocated and is therefore impaired at the reporting date. Goodwill relating to the recoverable amount of a CGU is calculated as the higher of the value in use and the fair value less the cost of disposal. Management determined the recoverable amount by reference to the value in use, which is based on discounted cash flow projections over which management makes significant judgments on key inputs. As a result of the assessment, management determined that there are no impairment as at the 31st December 2025. We focus on this area as the annual impairment assessment requires management judgment and estimation, particularly in relation to the estimation of future cash flows from the businesses taken into consideration, the key assumption being the revenue growth, capital expenditure, and discount rate in the group's impairment model. How our audit addressed the key audit matters. Our approach to addressing this matter involved the following procedures, among others. Evaluated management future cash flow forecasts and the process by which they were prepared, including testing the underlying calculations and comparing them to the latest financial forecast. Compared previous forecasts to actual results to assess the performance of the business and the accuracy of forecasting. Evaluated the revenue growth rate and discount rate against valuations of similar companies. Compare the key assumptions of revenue growth, terminal growth rate, EBITDA, margins, capital expenditure, and discount rate against externally derived benchmark data. Evaluated the revenue growth and discount rate used in management's cash flow projections against valuations of similar companies. Tested the calculations for mathematical accuracy and assessed the sensitivity of the calculations by varying the key assumptions and the adjustments within management's cash flow forecast. The results of our procedures indicated that management's determination that goodwill was not impaired at the reporting date was not unreasonable. Other information. Management is responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the annual report, but does not include the consolidated and standalone financial statements and our auditor's report thereon, which is expected to be made available to us after the date of this auditor's report. Our opinion on the consolidated and standalone financial statements does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with the audit of our consolidated and standalone financial statements, our responsibility is to read other information identified above when it becomes available and, in doing so, consider whether the information is materially inconsistent with the consolidated and standalone financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit or otherwise appear to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matter to those charged with governance. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of the consolidated and standalone financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated and standalone financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the consolidated and standalone financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the group's and the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing, as applicable, matters related to going concern, and use the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the group or the company, or to cease operation, or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group and the company's financial reporting process. Auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISAs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if, individually or in the aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these consolidated and standalone financial statements. As part of an audit, in accordance with ISAs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentation, or the override of internal control. We obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group and the company's internal control. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Conclude on the appropriateness of management use of the going concern basis of accounting and, based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the group or company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosure in the consolidated and standalone financial statements, or, if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the group or company to cease to continue as a going concern. We evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements represent the underlying transaction and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the financial information of the entities or business activities within the group to express an opinion on the consolidated and standalone financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and performance of the group audit. We remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identified during our audit. We also provide those charged with governance with a statement that we have complied with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence and to communicate with them all relationship and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence and, where applicable, related safeguards. From the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determined those matters that were of most significance in the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosures about the matters or when, in extremely rare circumstances, we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communications. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. As required by the Jamaican Companies Act, we have obtained all the information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the accompanying consolidated and standalone financial statements are in agreement therewith and give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in the manner so required. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Roxana Malcolm Tyrrell and signed by Baker Tilly, Chartered Accountants, Kingston, Jamaica, on the 30th of April 2026. I just want to add that this is an unqualified audit report, which is the good version of our report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Emil. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the point of the meeting where we are going to open the floor for questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, and any thoughts that you may have. I'm going to ask you to stand, identify yourself with your name, and please remember that you have to be a shareholder to participate in this section of the discussion. Please use the microphone as well, that's at the back of the room, and I'm going to ask online for you to just identify if there are any questions coming from online. So the floor is now open to any of your questions.
Supposed to give you a name?
Yes, sir.
Robert March.
Mr. March, how are you?
All right. I've been coming to most of the shareholder meetings, as you know, Mr. Siaga, including a lot of yours. And this meeting is, the one I came to post-Beryl 2024, nobody didn't look too happy, I guess, because of, all that happened and all of that, So this year now, I see a big improvement. Mohan is so happy. Everybody looks lighter, thinner. I guess they're working so hard over there, to get everything back upstream again. Everybody even Mohan looked like about 100 pounds light.
Maybe time's hard and we just can't afford to eat.
All right, I'm hungry. All right.
As you said that the food is coming in.
Oh, great.
It's a good thing.
Steak and lobster this time, right? All right. Canco.
Yes.
It's 51% owned by Spur and 49% private company. Canco? What
The mic, Albert? Just, yeah, turn it on, yeah.
Good morning. You're hearing me? Good.
yeah.
All right. The question is if Spur owns 51% of Canco. And the answer to that is yes. The second part, in terms of the 49% ownership, I can disclose that is still held by the previous
Private.
owners.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, what does Canco do? They do cans, they do plastic wraps, or they do all the packaging for you?
Okay. So Canco Limited is the owner of the Linstead Market brand. Linstead Market is a brand that is almost established for, I would think, close to 40 years now. And the company primarily produces canned ackee and canned callaloo, canned peas, and they have also a portfolio of some other products, jams, jelly, seasoning, sauces. So the whole idea of that is to capitalize on the long-established Linstead Market brand. And so all of those products are marketed under that brand.
Okay. All right, and my congratulations to Mohan and the rest of the team. Great job, and keep it up next year again, and no more hurricanes.
From
On
your
behalf-
mouth to God's ears.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marsh. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Luke Douglas from the Gleaner, not a shareholder yet. um, I wanted Albert to expand a little more on the importance of the farm. I know the decision was taken.
All right, so Mr. Douglas, I'm being informed by our corporate secretary that not being a shareholder, you're not able to participate at this point, but I'm happy to take your questions after, okay?
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, man. And any other question? Any questions online? None. Okay. So what happens when you have decent results? Yes, sir.
Pleasant good morning, Lanzel Bloomfield, shareholder.
Morning, Mr. Bloomfield.
Mr. Chairman, first question. The government has given the Jonah Market companies a 10-year tax break. How beneficial has it been to this company over the years since you have been listed?
Extremely.
Could you expand on that for?
Well, just let me clarify for everybody in the room that it is 5 years of tax free and 50% for the second 5 years. So what that simply means is that when you look at our bottom line of our profits, before tax and after tax, they would be the same. So any tax that we would have paid, that's what we have saved, and you as a shareholder would have benefited from.
Understood. Mr. Chair, you mentioned in your reports that this company is 90% or let me rephrase it. You mentioned that this company export 90% of the products you produce.
Yes.
How feasible is it to be a part of any trade group to be able to extend the export of these products to places like Ghana, these African countries that some people, not me, some people have a love affair with. The Ghana, the Nigeria, knowing that you have to transit through the United States, etc., etc. How feasible is it?
I don't think that we have to transit through the United States. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Spur Tree is looking for distribution opportunities any and everywhere. Let me say it clearer, any and everywhere, right? If we can find markets and we can meet the production capacity of those markets and we can make good margins on them, we are happy to sell to Timbuktu. Would that be a fair statement, sir?
Absolutely, sir.
Right. So we are looking, but the company is going to grow at the pace that it can manage its growth. We are not going to go out and get orders for 100 containers a week that we can't fulfill and get a bad name. We have to do it systematically and we have to plod along to make sure that we build the capacity prior to going out. We don't want to run down the car and when we reach it, we don't know what to do with it. So we have to be careful, and some of those African markets are far away and very big. Some of them are big, so we have to be careful. But we are looking. We have one eye on markets that are closer, but that's our expansion plans for the future.
Okay, I have two last questions. In your last meeting, you spoke about the challenges of the production of ackee. And that is primarily being handled by Kanko. What are the situations now in reference to what we are going through now in the period of drought? How is it impacting on the ackee production in addition to the other agricultural crops that you have to produce?
I'll let Mr. Bailey take that one.
The ackee trees are resilient when it comes to drought. Obviously, they need some rainfall, but not as much as other crops would need. So even a period of drought doesn't not significantly impair the production of ackee. In terms of, and I'll just say this for the record, it's not just Canco that we have that produces ackee. We have another 100% wholly owned subsidiary, which is Exotic Products, that also produces canned ackee. This year, we have had a delay in the recovery of ackee due to the late nature of the hurricane last year and the impact of that hurricane. But we are seeing now ackee becoming available, and we expect that for the remainder of 2026, we are going to have a good ackee crop. So that's what everything is pointing to right now.
Wish you all the best on that, sir. Sounds
With
good.
regards to the farm that you asked, the good thing about it is that we have access to wells that have been supporting the farming operation. So even though there's a significant drought, we have the infrastructure there that is supporting that operation.
Okay, understood. My last question, page 65, note 24. Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
this line item of 13.965 million for grant deferred income. Please give us some clarification on as to what this line item is.
Go ahead.
Grant deferred income. Note 24, page 65.
Okay, so that's a grant that was received by one of the subsidiary and based on the requirements of the accounting standard, there's an element of the funds received that had to be deferred because certain material events had not occurred as yet to incorporate that into your revenue
To
stream.
trigger the grant to be paid.
Okay.
Well, we got the funds,
Right. But you
but
couldn't
it is
book
deferred, put as deferred income because based on the standard, you had to have the materialization of certain activities and events for you to now move that to income. So we had to put it in a deferred income. So that simply means that in a future period, that will be moved to income.
Okay, I thank you very much. But just to let you know, as a caveat, I haven't tasted any of the ackee as yet.
And I'm sure you would prefer us to keep exporting it as much as we can, right? Thank you, Mr. Bloomfield, for your probing questions as usual. Are there any other questions? Anything online? Hold on, we have one online first, and then we come back to you, Mr. Marsh.
I'm reading on behalf of Matthew Bihari. You mentioned earlier that the company wants to reach a larger audience to cover the outstanding percentage of market. You mentioned earlier that the company wants to reach a larger audience to cover the outstanding percentage of marketing Spur Tree products to consumers. What are your thoughts on collaborative programs to partner with caterers and private chefs, as well as the launch of the dry rub and spices line? I'm from Westmoreland, and it was stated to have the products in major stores and supermarkets. However, there is limited access to your products in Shoppers Fair, Westmoreland.
I think I can answer the first part to say that we do have collaboration with many chefs and many restaurants, and that's a big component of our business. The second one, Albert, you'd have to take that.
And just to support Mr. Chairman's comment, we are always open to collaboration. This company was built on collaboration. If you walk into our offices, you'll see prominently displayed pictures of chefs that we have worked with, some well-known chefs that we have worked with over the years, and so we are always open to collaboration. The second part of the question is, I do appreciate the comment, and that's something that we are working assiduously on, to have a wider representation of the dry product line in the traditional space, plus in the non-traditional space. So that's work in progress, and I'm sorry that it has not reached Shoppers Fair in Westmoreland. So we'll speak to the team and contact our distributor. So there's a very concerned shareholder who is not getting the
Thank
products.
you, Mr. Bahari, for that information. It will be acted upon immediately. Who is this? Mr. Bahari. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Excellent. Mr. Marsh, you wanted to say a final, and I'm going to try and wrap it up after this.
Shoppers Fair is part of the progressive group. So once you get into the progressive group, you should be able to distribute.
Okay, great.
Right? From what am I correct? Right. The most important question I almost forgot was, with all these big profits and everything we can look forward to. Anybody can answer that? Why are you holding on the head for?
Let me answer you this way.
All right.
We are always mindful as a board that our shareholders want dividends.
You hit the nail on the head.
But we also have to bear in mind that we have some major expansions, some major events coming up that will need capital.
That's understood.
And we will always bear in mind your need for the short-term gain, but making sure that we have the long-term covered. And we want to increase the value in the company rather than give you little small amounts every.
So instead of $5, they can give us $1.
No, instead. and we will look at it.
All right.
Continue.
Okay, great. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. All right, with that said, I thank you very much for your participation, and your questions, as usual, have been probing. I would now like to present the ordinary resolutions outlined in the notice of the annual general meeting on page 4 of the 2025 annual report to be voted on by the shareholders. Before I proceed to set out the resolutions, we are proposing an amendment to the AGM notice to include a resolution for the election of Mrs. Rani Badalu, our general manager. Rani has been with the company for, Rani, help me, 5 years. Time flies. Rani has worked in many different parts of the company and learned a lot about the company. And most recently, she has been taken under the wing of Mr. Bailey and really is doing an amazing job. This document that you see here, Rani is responsible for a lot of it. She is the real driver of this document. So I think she has displayed her ability. She has experience outside of the company. And due to that fact, she was appointed to the board of the directors on August 5th, 2026, after the publication date of the AGM notice. And we are required by Article 120 of the company's Articles of Incorporation to pass an ordinary resolution at the AGM for her election to the board. With that mouthful said, we therefore propose an amendment to include Resolution 2D, the election of Rani Badalu, to the AGM notice. May I have a motion for the amendment of the AGM notice to include Resolution 2D to elect Mrs. Rani Badalu as a director to the company? Mr. Bloomfield, seconded by Mr. Marsh. Thank you both very much. I declare the motion. No, can we vote on it? Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. I declare the motion carried. Shareholders and proxy holders present will vote by raising their hands as we just did. The first resolution, which requires the shareholders' approval, is that the audited accounts for, I feel like I've done something wrong on the teacher. Before I move on. Simone, am I at liberty to move on? Okay. That the audited accounts for year ended December 31st, 2025, and the reports of the directors and auditors circulated with the notice convening the meeting are hereby received and adopted. May I have a motion for the adoption of resolution number 1 as just read? Daniel, seconded by Ms. Chetta. Those in favor of that motion being carried? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Resolution number 2. Chairman, can I ask you to come and read the resolution number 2, please? Or, I mean, CEO, you can do it from there if you want. Yeah.
Resolution number 2A. Articles of the company. Article 114 of the company's Act of Incorporation.
Yeah.
Resolution 2A.
Turn it on. No.
Mike? Right. Resolution 2A. Article 114 of the company's Article of Incorporation provides that at every annual general meeting, 1/3 of the directors are subject to retirement for the time being, or if their number is not 3 or a multiple of 3, then the number nearest to 1/3 shall retire from office. The directors to retire by rotation pursuant to this article Mr. Mitrisiaga, Ms. Daniel Terrelong, and Ms. Yana Samuels, who being eligible, offer themselves for re-election. Resolution 2A, re-election of Mitri Siaga. That Mr. Mitri Siaga be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Resolution 2B, re-election of Daniel Terrelong. That Miss...
The vote individually.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2A, re-election of Mr. Mitri Siaga? May I have a shareholder, and the shareholder is Mr. Anand James. May I have a, and this Mr. Marsh is the person who seconded it. Can we have a vote from the shareholders? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I'll turn back to the chair.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all very much for instilling your confidence in me as the chairman of this company. Resolution 2B, the re-election of Daniel Terrelong. That Ms. Daniel Terrelong be and hereby re-elected as director of the company. Can I have a proposer? Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mohan. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Resolution 2C, the re-election of Yana Samuels, that Ms. Yana Samuels be and is hereby elected as director of the company. May I have a proposer? Mr. Bloomfield, seconded by Mr. Anand James. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Resolution 2D, election of Mrs. Rani Badalu, that Mrs. Badalu be and is hereby elected as director of the company. Can I have a proposer? Mr. James, and seconded by Yano. Those in favor? Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. The next resolution is resolution number 3, directors' remuneration. That the board of directors of the company be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the directors of the board. May I have a motion for the adoption of the resolution number 3? Mr. Bloomfield, seconded by Daniel Terrelong. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Resolution is passed. Why? Oh. Okay. Seconded by? I don't know. I didn't say you. Seconded by Mr. Marsh. Thank you very much, Mr. Marsh. The final resolution, resolution number 4, appointment of auditors and their remuneration. That Baker Tilly Chartered Accountants of 6 Collins Green Avenue, Kingston 5, have signified their willingness to serve continuing office as auditors of the company until the conclusion of the next AGM at a remuneration to be agreed by the directors. May I have a motion for the adoption of resolution 4? Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Bailey. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the substantive business of the meeting, of the annual general meeting for 2026 for Spur Spices. I propose a motion for the termination of the meeting. Mr. Bloomfield, and seconded by Ms. Chetta. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your participation both here and online. And we do have refreshments behind.